In my grandparents' attic, there was a ghost named Levi. He's an old general from an old war and built the house a long time ago. We know he is there because he once woke my Aunt Sarah with a hand on her throat. She screamed and woke everyone in the house. She wasn't harmed, but no, I wouldn't say he is harmless. When I was a child, I was afraid of ghosts and wouldn't go up to the attic alone, but now I am more afraid of monsters who are alive. Levi was an old general in an old war, and I think he must have done something worse than frighten a girl in her bed one night. When my grandparents were alive, they built an atomic bomb. Since they've been dead, they haven't done much at all. They haunt me a little, but only in old letters and pictures and books that I read, and sometimes I wish they'd put a hand on my throat so I could know that they were there and that I am right to be so afraid. I am writing a book about my grandparents who built an atomic bomb. Books and letters and pictures only know so much, but Levi was there long before them or me, so I go to ask him questions. I go to the attic I was once afraid of and sit cross-legged on the bed over the checkered quilt that has always been there, which covered my Aunt Sarah as she screamed and screamed at the hand on her throat. Levi, I say, do you remember my grandparents? Do you remember my aunt and my uncle and my father who all lived here once, and me when I was a little girl afraid to come play in this attic where my brother and my cousins liked to play? He does not answer, but only rustles in a box of pictures, or maybe it is the wind. Levi, I say, are my grandparents' ghosts here with you? And if so, in what ways are they haunting? And if so, is history itself haunting, and does living in it make one ghostly? There is a chill in the air, a draft from the outside where it is winter, just after Christmas. And if you have done something worse in your life than to frighten a girl in her bed one night, maybe something as bad as building an atomic bomb, do you have to haunt the places you did those things, or do the things you did come to the places you lived and haunt you there? There are footsteps by the window, a flickering of the lights. Is it true that my grandmother fell in love with the 20th century and gave birth to an atomic bomb? Rain falls outside, and birds are spooked from the eaves, clattering wings. Do ghosts remember their children? All my children, he says, are also ghosts. Is the 20th century haunting its children? Centuries don't have children, he says, adjusting the scabbard at his waist. They are children themselves their whole lives through. He puts his hand over his brow and stares into the distance as if scanning the ridge for the movements of enemy soldiers. Sometimes, he adds, straightening his epaulets, they have monsters instead. The window rattles and he jumps to attention, drawing his saber and advancing into the air above the yard. He spars with someone unseen, delivers a fatal blow. He wipes his blade and returns to the attic. Everyone I have ever loved was born in the 20th century, I say. He shakes his head, grows kindly under his voluminous mustache. That isn't good, he says. Perhaps you should have children of your own. This century is still young enough. But shouldn't I be afraid, I say, of monsters? He doesn't say anything to this, but he comes to sit beside me on the bed. He smooths the wrinkles from his coat and his heels click, click upon the floor. He removes his hat. His hand is very cold when he puts it on my throat.